Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your January 15th through the 31st. What am I calling these? Connection session? I think that's appropriate. This is a love reading where we're going to be looking at first the energy between you as well as your person of interest. And we're going to also be diving into how your person is thinking and feeling about you, but we're going to be looking at their specifically their fleeting thoughts, their conscious thoughts, their subconscious impressions, as well as their feelings about you, my wonderful Gemini. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first card is what's representing you, and I like it. We have the Empress. Oh my gosh, my camera loves me today. That is, of course, our good old Venetian energy. That is Taurian as well as Libran energy. So you guys are in your abundance era, Gemini. More or less, you guys are in a good place. You guys are expansive. You guys are, I would say, focused towards the future. And ironically, this does remind me a tad bit of Taurus's reading. I mean, not in totality, but in the sense of you guys kind of being in your glow up era. So more or less in the midpoint of January, you guys are very much focused on yourself. There could be some things here where if your parents, you're fixated on your kiddos and things that are going on with them right now that may have been a resolution for you during this time of the year. And also there could be some of you who don't have kiddos that are thinking about things like marriage and motherhood and things of the sort. But all in all, you guys are in, I want to call it a glow up era, more or less very much focused on expanding, whether that's, financially or just with your own self-love as well as self-care. Now, for your person of interest, ooh, I really like this. We have the Magician. So your person of interest is very empowered in utilizing all resources that are available to them at present. So it would seem to me that both of you are in your glow up era. Although I do feel for your person of interest, it's more kind of fixated towards whether it's passion projects or just simply like their career is more in, I really would have to say, a more kind of masculine kind of domains, not meaning that like gender wise, but I mean like energy wise, like more action oriented type of things, like, achievement, moving up the corporate ladder, things of that sort. And I mean, if your person is woo-woo, then it's them kind of focusing on spiritual endeavors, or simply them kind of aligning with their purpose. But the thing I would have to say with this, these are two really good energies, but I find it fascinating, and this is a theme I'm kind of seeing with some of the signs I've done prior to you guys, is it's a very individual kind of focus, like where one is very fixated or focused on themselves and what it is that they have going on. But let's turn over the card to see what's going on with the energy between you guys. Oh, interesting. We have the Nine of Swords. If I can get my eye out of the shot. Yeah, there we go. We have the Nine of Swords. So there's a bit of anxiety here. So just kind of what it is that I'm feeling. There's some fears that are happening between the two of you guys. And if I were to say this from the perspective of if you guys are like fairly new meeting each other, like if this is a new kind of thing, I would understand the energy of you guys kind of being focused on yourselves. But with the energy between you two, that's where this anxiety would kind of be coming from, because it may be like a reluctance to kind of commit, because it may be the fear that you guys being on your solitary individual paths, that kind of connecting with another person could cause your attention to be drawn away from what it is that you're focusing on within yourself. But Gemini, just kind of what it is I'm seeing here in this Empress card, if that is an issue for my Geminis, I feel this is more or less because of past experiences. like things that you've been through past tense, and there may be things with your person of interest that may kind of remind you of a past person. And I don't mean this in like a bad way, like whether it's like the career field that they're in, right? Like, say hypothetically, if they're a lawyer, right? And you've dated a lawyer before, I feel that there may be kind of fears that are rising up because you're thinking about how things went with this past lawyer. And I mean this hypothetically, but you're thinking about how things went with this past lawyer that you dated, and kind of a fear in reference to, will this new lawyer be this particular way, right? But I'm not at this present time looking at this overall energy. I'm not really feeling this too much. Oh, well, never mind. I would say I'm not feeling this too much for people who've been dating for some time, but I mean, I could kind of see it. But this would be more if this was like, if this is a situation where you guys have been dealing with each other for some time, and I'm not talking like 20, 30 years. I mean, you've been dating this person for a bit. This more or less would look like you guys are in a rough patch. You know what I'm saying? And like you guys focusing on yourselves is kind of the byproduct of a breakdown type of thing. But anywho, let's look at how your person's thinking and feeling about you so we can get a little bit more clarity in reference to this. So getting into their fleeting thoughts. Interesting. First card that we have out. There we go. We have the Three of Wands in the reverse. Whoa. Then we have the Moon in the reverse. Cancerian energy. Then we have the Hanged Man. Okay. Those of you who've been here for some time know I always say Pisces, Cancer, and Aquarius with the Hanged Man. And then we have the Strength card, which is Leo energy and their conscious thoughts. So interesting. So looking at their fleeting thoughts here, let's just get into it. So with this Three of Wands in the reverse and the Moon in the reverse, it's more or less them not really seeing how this can progress forward at this present time. I feel like up until this point, more or less how, like, up until this point, your person really wasn't sure how it is that you felt about them, you know, or how you felt about the connection with them. But at this present moment, and again, these are fleeting thoughts. So these are things that are just kind of jetting in and out of their head as they're weighing information in reference to you. It's like sometimes they're feeling like not really seeing how this could progress forward or how there could be longevity in this particular situation. Sometimes they're feeling like how it is that you feel about them is very clear. Other times they're really not sure. But how it is that they're seeing things at present is they feel, well, I'm not gonna say they feel, they think about how you think about them is that you may potentially not feel that you see a future with them, you know? And I do kind of feel the vibe, even though we're really looking at them, it kind of feels to me like how I was saying with your energy being kind of fixated past tense, Gemini, I can kind of see fears creeping up with that because I feel it's just kind of things past tense that may be coming up that are kind of creating rose-colored glasses, if I could say it that way. That may not be like the right term for this. Rose-colored glasses. Because that's more or less when you're making something like more positive than it should be. That is when you're kind of making things more positive than it should be. So I don't want to say rose-colored glasses, but it's almost like it's skewing your perception in a sense in reference to this person. But overall, it's like they're kind of picking up on that. So how it is that they're seeing it with you is that you don't necessarily see longevity or a future with them, but at the same time, them feeling with this Hanged Man that you're kind of like in limbo, right? Like not really knowing what you want to do with them, how you're going to see this going, if this is someone that you really want to be with along those lines, right? But in their conscious position, looking at you as the Strength card, it's like they see you as a person who's very empowered, you're self-assured, You know what it is that you want, like you're headed towards your end goal. So I think that's more or less the contrast that they're weighing, is that in certain aspects of your life, and if we ping back to this Empress card, when it comes to like your career, I don't know, your finances, friends, family, your kids, whatever the case, it's like in certain aspects of your life, they feel that you're very confident, self-assured, and headed in the direction without any doubts of what it is that you want. Like you're very confident in what it is that you're heading towards. However, I feel it's more or less in reference to them. They feel that you're kind of like, and I don't want to say wishy-washy, but it's like you're kind of on the fence, like ambivalent, if I could say it that way. It's like, do you want to be with them? Do you not want to be with them? Is this something that I really want to invest in? Is this not? You know what I'm saying? Because their perception is more or less your focus being on your Empress kind of stuff, if I could say it that way. It's like being more focused on things outside of the connection with them. Now, if I kind of double back to what I was saying, looking at this as two different energies, if this is someone that you just met, then I mean, this would be a good thing. If this is a new connection, just for the simple fact that, it's like if you guys are newly dating, oh my gosh, I hope you guys do not hear my washing machine. I hope you guys do not hear it. You probably do. I hope y'all don't. Because it's on the spin cycle, and I was supposed to put it on the pedestals, and I did not put it on the little pedestals. So because it's not on the pedestals, every time it does the spin cycle, it rocks like this. And I hope and pray to God that y'all don't hear this. Wait, hold on. Let me pause this just in case y'all do hear this. My apologies, Gemini. Every part of me told me to close my laundry room door before I started this, but I was like, oh no, it'll be fine, until I remembered. But anywho, but more or less, it's like I feel like if this is something that's newer, then this is like a totally normal thing, because it would more or less be speaking from the perspective of this person, not being sure if there would be the potential for longevity with this person, because you guys would literally be, newly dating or what have you, right? Or another way that we could kind of see this is more or less them seeing you as a person who's not really relationship focused. You know what I'm saying? That you're more or less worried about, your own acquisition of things, being successful, being your best self, but it's like you kind of flirting with the idea of potentially being with someone, but that not necessarily being your main focus. But that, of course, is something, if this is a newer person, that would be worked out over time and would speak to why there is like this fear or this anxiety here, kind of speaking back to that fear of like connecting. Because coming from their perspective, it would more or less be of, them kind of thinking about wanting to connect with someone in that way, but thinking that you're not necessarily interested in that because it doesn't seem to be your main focus. Now, looking at their subconscious impression, okie dokie, we have the 7 of Swords here. So here's the thing. With their subconscious impression, this is impression / projection. So this is something that's true about them that they're 9 times out of 10 projecting onto you. So it's more or less how it is that they're seeing you as someone who's kind of sneaky, right? That you kind of keep secrets. You don't necessarily show all of your cards. Like you don't put all your cards on the table. It's like kind of keeping people on a need to know kind of basis. But the truth of the matter is that's very much how it is they are, right? But they're seeing you in that way. And that kind of makes me look at this Magician kind of side-eyed, because the thing I love about the position of this card is it's really reflecting to me. It makes sense out of how someone is consciously or, their fleeting thoughts in reference to you. because a lot of their fleeting thoughts are very much powered by what it is that their subconscious impressions are. So a lot of times how it is that they're seeing you is how it is that they're really seeing themselves. So the thing I look at with this anxiety, that kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. So I'm kind of leaning towards this being something that's fairly new. It's like I can see it both ways. I could see how this could be something um that's older. I'm just going to have to tell two different stories at one time, y'all. So, like, for those of you where this is something new, this person is seeing you as, like, not being 100% honest, or being like a little sneaky, right? Like, potentially that, you may have, I don't want to say like hidden motives, but that there's probably a lot more going on behind the curtain than they're aware of. And if I could sum this up into an energy, especially for those of you who are Gemini Venuses out there, this is something that manifests a lot. And I'm saying this because I'm literally a Gemini Venus. But this is something that can come up a lot of times with us having that placement, is where it's kind of getting bored easy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're kind of a mover and a shaker when, you're on to the next thing. You're a tastemaker type of vibe. And it can come off sometimes to people with being kind of lively and, like that you're not a person that would necessarily want to settle down or not want to have a future with someone, but that is the farthest from the truth. The main thing with a person who is a Gemini Venus is you're intrigued by a person who's intellectually stimulating. So if the person that you're with is not intellectually stimulating, then there's probably not going to be longevity, because they would bore you to death. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes people can misconstrue that as a person who is like non-committal. You know what I'm saying? But I feel with your person of interest, I feel you guys like, well, I'll say specifically with them, I don't necessarily feel malicious intent with them, but I do feel there's an aura of their personality with a little bit of smoke and mirrors. But I feel the stuff that they're kind of keeping hidden about themselves, or why they don't necessarily give 110%, is because it's more or less like a fear of rejection or a fear of judgment. So I feel how this person presents themselves, and I feel the need to say, because I didn't say that with the Magician, that's Aries energy. I feel like I didn't say that. I might have, I don't know, but that's Aries energy. But anywho, the thing that I'm kind of seeing with this is like how this person presents themselves to the world is the way that they feel other people want them to show up. So it's almost like what's expected of them. So it's like them being a high achiever, or, if we go back to the attorney reference, it's like partner for the firm, like so talented. And oh my gosh, like, they give to the homeless, right? So it's like they're very fixated with having this external presentation of this idealistic person, almost in a way to guarantee acceptance from other people. You know what I'm saying? Or to be approved of by other people, or liked by other people for whatever reason. But it's kind of like behind that veneer, they're a different type of person. But I don't feel this as like sneaky, cheating, lying manipulator, because of course the Magician, it's upright, it's not in the reverse. But it's almost like it really would go back to their self-concept type of thing. It's how they judge themselves, or how it is that they view themselves, is less than stellar. Like, if we were to look at how they consciously see you being the Strength card, it's almost like how they would perceive themselves as like strength in the reverse. You feel what I'm saying? So their perception of themselves is they don't necessarily feel as confident as they perceive you to be. But like this persona, like their external persona that they project out into the world, they feel that's a guarantee that people will like that and fool with that and be drawn to that and attracted to that. But behind that, like the real person that they are, it's like a fear of that being rejected. You know what I'm saying? And that's really like a self-esteem type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because how it is that they perceive themselves as less than. So where this Seven of Swords is coming in is the masquerade that they're playing between being this persona, right? And who it is that they actually are, that they see as a deficit, and how that comes into you is them projecting. So that song and dance, smoke and mirrors that they're doing with, like, you know, and I'm going to use like a lame example, but if they're like, I'm an alpha male, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm that guy. Like, I eat my steaks like medium rare and I go to the gym every day because I'm that guy, right? So it's like they're projecting this person, but in reality, they're like a Marvel nerd. You know what I'm saying? And they're into like comic books and stuff. It's like they would never share that about themselves because they feel like the alpha male is more socially acceptable. And the fear would be someone being attracted to alpha male, right? And they get to know you, get to know the person, right? And they find out that he's a Marvel nerd and he's potentially like rejected. So it's like your person of interest would never lead with that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel with them, that's kind of what's consuming them. And with my Geminis, I feel, and I wouldn't necessarily say consuming, but I feel something that's kind of in your energy field, Gemini, is the fact that this person either reminds you of someone from your past, or you're picking up on that didactic energy with them, where it's like you're kind of sensing there's something else going on here and I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? And you're kind of feeling that Seven of Swords, like sneaky kind of energy. And that very well could be what has you in this position where you're like iffy, you know? So, like, this person, they're in anxiety because they're worried, like, is Gemini gonna like the fact that I'm a nerd, right? And then you're kind of anxious because it's like, is this person like people that I've dated in my past? If that's making sense, right? Now, looking at their feelings for you, oh, good Lord, that's not too bad. We have the Five of Swords in the reverse. So it's a desire for them to come out of conflict with that. It's like they more or less want to see this as a win-win situation, if I could say it that way. So it's like for them, they're feeling that this could turn out to be something good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I more or less, because whenever I'm looking at reversal cards, I'm always looking at the card prior to it. And the card prior to the Five of Swords is the Four of Swords, right? So it's more or less feeling that this could be something that's like peaceful, something that can, contribute to their overall well-being in reference to you being in their life. You know what I'm saying? That's how they feel. But I can see the way that they think is in stark contrast to that. But I would lean more towards, how I was saying that I can see how this is two different people, like two different groups of people. It's like for the newer people, this is a good reading overall, just for the simple fact that it's new. So it's more or less, these are just kind of nervousness and like fears of getting to know a person type of deal. But I feel as time progresses, this is something that can kind of even itself out. You know what I'm saying? When your person gets over their anxieties and fear of rejection and anxiety. Was I about to call Gemini anxiety? I apologize. But Gemini kind of getting over their anxieties about past experiences and like repeating those, right? I feel like with this could end up kind of having the potential to move forward. But I do see how there could be some hiccups along the way with this, because it's a lack of trust on both sides, but for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if I were to project this into the future, if this were two people who were just meeting each other, this connection does have potential. However, it would take a lot of work, because I feel like both of you would be working through a lot of like just issues that you guys have individually together. So I feel either way, this could be something very positive over a long term. You know what I'm saying? But this isn't something, if this is new, it has to be new, because there aren't a lot of cards here that are really speaking to, like, deep, passionate love type of energy. It's just very mechanical and new with traditional, like, normal fears and stuff. Now, on the other side of this, if this is a partnership where you guys have been dealing with each other for some time, this is one of those connections where, like, and I was saying how this kind of reminded me of Taurus. I mean, not, come on, y'all. I'm literally telling cross watchers to not watch Taurus. If y'all want to be petty, messy, and just watch Taurus, because, child, I don't even know how I feel about my bull game right now after what I saw in Taurus's reading. But anyway, so not in that regard, but in the context of, like, something, I'm just gonna say it. With something kind of being dead in the water, it's like, if this is Gemini, if you are someone where you've been with a person for some time, both of y'all are kind of over it at this point. Like, this wouldn't be for a Gemini that thinks that they're happy in love type of deal and shocked to find out that their person is, like, disconnected. I just couldn't see that unless you literally were wearing rose colored glasses and were in denial and completely oblivious to this. And in that sense, this reading would literally be, and I mean, child, I mean, in a sense, I could see that. I could see that. Oh, Lord, why am I looking at these cards for too long? When I look at these cards for too long, I'll be starting to see all kinds of things. I'll throw out a third situation. A third scenario I could see with this would be a Gemini who is completely oblivious, purposefully, and in denial, purposefully, in the context where you're very much fixated on a life that you want. God, this is about to become a whole thing. And I was talking about this archetype earlier. This would have to be a Gemini woman who's very much fixated on a life that she wants, right? Meaning, like, you want the husband, the 2.5 kids in the house with the white picket fence, and that is what your entire life is fixated on. But I'm just going to be honest about when a person's life aspirations, and I'm saying specifically a woman teetering on Cinderella complex type of vibes, whenever a woman is too fixated on that and there's no other dimensions, and mind you, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a wife and a mom. I've been both. I mean, I'm still a mom. I was a wife. But anyway, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not anti, being married and stuff like that. But whenever a person is unbalanced and your whole fixation is on the essence of your identity being a wife and a mom before you've ever even met the person, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's an imbalance, and it's a shadow aspect of, like, the mother archetype. You feel what I'm saying? And how that ends up playing out in behavioral patterns is like a woman who her whole point is fixated on finding a partner. So you go to college not because you want a degree, but because you're trying to get an MRS degree, as they call it, right? Like, you're trying to find a husband, right? And once again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with meeting someone, falling in love with them, and not being able to fathom anything more than being this man's wife. You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful thing. But this is a whole different trajectory that we're talking about, right? Because it's more objectifying your partner, right? Because you have this picture in your head and this fantasy that you want to live out, and you're trying to find a person to fit into this mold that you've created of husband, which means you're not taking into account who he is, what he desires, what he wants, what he sees for his life. It's looking for a person who fits the mold of what your ideal is, putting them neatly into this mold and wanting them to play the role of, husband. Now give me babies. Now I have babies, and I want babies to fit into the neat little molds of what I want for my babies, so I can live out this fantasy of our matching pajamas on Instagram and matching Halloween costumes, right? That's objectifying those children and the partner, right? Meaning that the whole life path has nothing to do with them as individuals. It's them playing a role in service to you. And that is not healthy. That is not fair. That is not right. You feel what I'm saying? Now, I say that to say, if we encapsulate all of that into this archetype of this Empress card representing a Gemini person that I hope and pray doesn't exist, right? I can see how all of this could apply, because what the message of this reading would be for that particular person is you're turning a blind eye to the fact that your partner is extremely self focused. You know what I'm saying? They're focused on themselves and what it is that they want, but you're refusing to see this. Like, there's anxiousness, there's tension, there's unrest, there's unease in this partnership, but you're turning a blind eye to it because your main focus is your desire, right? It's the fact that you want to be the wife and have the kids with the house and the white picket fence and the trips to Disney and all of this. And it's like, this is the person that's in my life, so I need to make this work. So everything else that's happening, we're just going to close our eyes and pretend that this isn't happening. You feel what I'm saying? And how this person thinks and feels in reference to this is they're not clear on how it is that you don't see that there isn't longevity or a future with you all. You feel what I'm saying? It's just more or less you're just hanging around here and they're not quite sure for what, but they still see in you the potential for you to be so much more than what it is you're limiting yourself as. But at the same time, they have an agenda. This is where the word agenda could come in. They have an agenda of how it is that they're maneuvering and how they're focused on their self, and their projection onto you would be thinking maybe you're doing the same thing, possibly. Like, are they just playing dumb? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or is this whole playing dumb thing a facade because they really have a whole nother narrative that's going on? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, with this Five of Swords in the reverse, it's like it's still kind of like, oh, it's kind of like a win for them, but it's still simultaneously a loss because of you guys being in this limbo. But it's putting it in the position of them not really so much being concerned about it, because at the end of the day, they feel that they're going to be all right. So it's kind of like one of those things where, like, I don't even know if there's like a colloquialism for it. It's one of those situations where if a person feels like if you're a willing participant in this, then you're simultaneously willing to accept said consequences. So it's kind of like, if you want to turn a blind eye to what I'm doing, then I feel like you're giving me the pass to continue to keep doing what it is that I'm doing, but still kind of backstepping and wondering, like, do they know that I'm doing this? You know what I'm saying? Or are they really oblivious? Like, that's kind of the back and forth I would see of the person in that particular dynamic, right? So we put that to the side. So we've got our newly dating people. We have our random new energy that came in of this person in the mother archetype a little too obsessively. And going back to our second group of people, where this could be something that's been going on for some time. And this is a relationship that's kind of hit a wall. It's hit a stall point. And it's like this anxiousness between the two of you is letting you know that there's something out of alignment, but the solution to this partnership doesn't lie in both of you just focusing on yourselves individually. There has to be a decision that's made with this. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel with this Five of Swords in the reverse, like, going back to that kind of calm, peaceful kind of energy that we're seeing with this, it's like, it's almost like, and I said this with another sign. I can't remember if it was Capricorn or if it was Taurus, God forbid. But I was saying it's almost like the equivalent of two people who are living in the same house that are in a relationship, but you're living as roommates. Like, you're sleeping in different rooms type of thing. And I feel like whenever people get to that point in a relationship, it's kind of like, why are you even still in it? You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, it's pretty clear, especially like the energy between you is a Nine of Swords. And if the person's feelings towards you is Five of Swords in the reverse, it's like there isn't really, like, nobody wins in this. You know what I'm saying? Like, the person pretty much feels with that, like, however it is that things pan out from here on, it's not a win for them. It's not really a win for you either. But it's almost like with you guys being together and focusing on yourselves, it's keeping the peace. You feel what I'm saying? And I mean, there's thoughts here as well. Like I said, with the Seven of Swords, like they feel like you might be doing some stuff behind their back, but they is doing stuff behind your back. You know what I'm saying? But it still goes back to like what I said with the third energy with the Strength card and how it is that they see you. It's almost saying that they know that you're better than this. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't necessarily have to be in this connection, but if and that's similar to the third person as well. You don't necessarily have to stay in this connection, but if you choose to, it's like, I mean, cool. Like they're going to continue to move forward with you the way that things are now. But I don't necessarily see things getting better unless Gemini is the one that makes the decision to kind of retract from this. But other than that, this relationship would continue this way for the foreseeable future because you guys focusing on yourselves but still being together is keeping the peace. You know what I'm saying? Like there's less conflict. So if we were to backstep a little bit and say hypothetically in this connection that once upon a time, Gemini, like your person was, going out, staying out late, working late, and Gemini was always saying stuff like, why are you always working so late? And you're always going out with your friends and like, you don't ever spend time with me, da da da. So if Gemini was always the person doing stuff like that, then it was like Five of Swords upright. You know what I'm saying? It's like Gemini ain't nothing but conflict and problems. Every single time I talk to Gemini, Gemini always got some stuff to say. It's always drama. You know what I'm saying? It's always an argument, right? So then Gemini comes to the point where they shut down and they're like, F it, I'm going to focus on myself and do me. And it's like the moment Gemini did that, then everything became peaceful. Because when you stop worrying about what they were doing, there's no more arguments, right? So it's kind of a question that I would say you would want to ask yourself is like, yeah, you have peace in this connection, but it's like at what cost? Because there is a level of anxiety here on both sides. And I think it's just because the truth of the matter is the relationship is built on shaky ground. And the thought is, how long can we go on like this? And I would say with this Three of Wands in the reverse, it ain't going to be that long. You know what I'm saying? You can't continue like this for an extended period of time. But this Hangman is saying to me that there's a decision that needs to be made, and how your person is seeing you in reference to this is they're seeing you as the one who needs to make the decision. Because much like I said, like with the third person, it's like they're not going to be the one to change anything because, and I mean, it's kind of selfish to be honest, because things being as they are now is working for them. You know what I'm saying? It's beneficial for them because they don't have to argue with you no more, and they got stuff going on that you don't know about. You know what I'm saying? But the thought is for you, if you're in your glow up energy with this Empress, this is not the type of things that Empresses fraternize with. You feel what I'm saying? So do you want true abundance or do you want the illusion thereof? Do you want a real relationship or do you want the illusion thereof? You feel what I'm saying? But anywho, that's been your connection session for January 15th through the 31st. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, I love your freaking face and I will